This video would not be possible without the help of Octane Toys. I'll leave a link to their website and their Facebook below in the description. Hello everyone, DJN is back here to review the Subor D99 video game system Famiclone from China. Now, originally this console was a PAL region console, and the seller, well, he said it was NTSC. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I did, however, contact Octane Toys, who were then able to convert the console from PAL to NTSC for me. They didn't charge too much, and I have to say, I'm very happy with the results. But now let's get into the console. Is the console any good? Are there any, incompatible games? I have plenty of games to test, so let's get started. We're going to get started off with Super Mario Bros. 3. And I want you to hear how it sounds, because honestly, when it comes to some of the games, the sound isn't, too correct. It's not the greatest. It's not what you'd expect on an NES or an actual Famicom. And what I mean by that is, well, hear for yourself and you be the judge. So see, not all games sound correct. Some of them do sound, like they're supposed to, but when it comes to, other games, it still sounds similar, but it's still not correct. Now, let's go back to compatibility. Can it play bootleg games? Well, I've got Super Mario World right here, made by the Hummer team, and it's running it just fine. I will admit that at first it did not want to read it, but that's only because the cartridge was a little dirty. So after cleaning it, I was able to run it and it's playing just fine like it's supposed to. But, you're probably wondering, well, okay, that's only 2 games. How far is the compatibility list? Can it play multi-carts? Can it play new pirated bootleg carts that are made, this year or last year? I have plenty of games to test, as I said before, so let's go ahead and switch the game to an authentic one, called Burgertime. Now, I can safely say that Burgertime was working just fine when I was recording. However, in the past, it would sometimes reset itself after playing for X amount of time. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, Burgertime would just tend to reset itself on this Famiclone. It was the only game, too, which I found to be pretty strange, since it's not that different from any other NES game. I ended up cleaning it a little bit, even though it seemed to be already clean for the most part. And of course, it didn't reset on me, so that's good. Alright, next game is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! This is probably one of the better games to test out the controller with that comes with the Famiclone. As far as how the controller feels, honestly, it doesn't feel bad, but I do have a friend who said he does not like it. But as you can see me playing, I'm able to move left and right, punch, jab, whatever, just fine. Nothing's wrong, I can play the game perfectly. But then again, that's just me. For you, you might not like how the controller feels. Alright, let's get into the multi-cart. I want to turn off the background music and my, of course, voice so you could hear how the game sounds, and this one is going to be called Frog River. I'm surprised to say that as far as compatibility goes, it's been able to play every game I put into it. And now this next game is also on the same cart. It's called Wild Ball. It's a rock, paper, scissors strip game. Now, of course, it's, just rock, paper, scissors, nothing special. But every time you win, she removes a piece of her clothing, or what she's wearing. And throughout the entire game, they sometimes tease you and you have to remove the stars, too, in the background. Now, by doing that, though, if you get lucky, you can see her naked. But because you're on the internet and I'm such a troll, I'm not going to let you see any of that stuff, so haha. But, in all seriousness, though, the game is, I don't know what to say about it. Is it fun? Is it any good? It's weird. It's based on a real game though, so let's just move on to another pirated, game. It's called Earthworm Jim 3. It's a remake of Earthworm Jim 1 for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Is this game any good? Can I play it just fine? How do the controls feel? Well, like I said, this is another game to test out that's kind of like, as far as controls go, it's the same situation with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! I'm able to move the controls just fine, navigate through the levels, shoot, and the turbo function also works. You're probably wondering to yourself, man, is this guy getting paid just to say good things about this console? Where are the bad things? What are the cons? What are the defects? Well, I'm not going to continue talking on about compatibility in games and all that stuff, so let me start saying some cons. Some cons about this thing is that since it's so lightweight, it can be damaged easily, I would say, if you are such a heavy user or you don't take care of your stuff. When I say lightweight, I really mean lightweight. It's like one circuit board and that's about it. Um, as far as cartridges go in the games, well, it it depends on how long you're playing too, but if you're playing for an extended period of time, then sometimes your game will burn. Now, I don't mean like, turn black or you can see smoke or anything, but what I am trying to say is that if you play for a certain amount of time and you take out the cartridge, you could actually smell the metal. It hasn't damaged any of my games, and that's a promise, but it is just one of those defects or cons that I would say about this console. Another thing I would say about the console as far as, con goes, and I've already demonstrated it, is the sound. The sound I'm not too keen on, but I mean, it works, and for most of the games, not all of them, but most of them, it sounds just the way as it should. The graphics seen here in Castlevania are a pretty good interpretation of what you could expect, along with, some of the other games you just saw. As far as, performance goes, I thought this game wasn't going to run at first, but it ran right away. The first time popping it in the console, it just booted up, started playing, sound was alright. Like I said, some games just don't sound like they're supposed to, but they're not horrible. The controls again feel fine. My friend, however, as I said before, just doesn't like how the controller feels. He says that it's rough or it's too sharp, that it hurts the edges of his hands. And I'm just like, are you that picky? I'm using the controller just fine, I can play the games just fine, and nothing's going on with my hands. But, he's himself, so I can't really say anything. It would be easier if you actually knew him. This next card is just one of a kind. It's one that I personally had made, and I of course picked out the games myself too and designed the logo. I want to be quiet for a second so you can hear how this sounds compared to the Super Nintendo version, so here it goes. I think we've all seen enough compatibility testing, we've all heard enough about the console itself to know if we want to buy one or not. Does it work? Yes, it does. Is it any good? Of course it is. Are there defects? Well, I mean, other than the sound, I can't really say anything bad. Oh, and of course, the cartridge, metal, plastic burning, whatever. But, it's still, again, not too bad. Not as bad as you probably think it is. It hasn't done any damage to my cartridges, and all the games play just fine. Let's end the video with the Zapper. Does the gun work? Yes, it does. Does it come with the gun? Unfortunately, from the seller I bought from, he did not sell it with the gun, so I had to purchase it for an extra $12, but it was well worth it, because as you can see, the gun works just fine. I tested it on both Duck Hunt and Wild Gunman, and of course it also misses just like a regular NES Zapper would, or Famicom Revolver? Yeah, Revolver. But, that about wraps it up. All the games work just fine. If I can rate this on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, then I would give it at least a 3 stars, but in my personal opinion, I would probably give it 4 stars. Only because I'm happy with it, it hasn't done me any wrong, it plays all the games that I put into it, and, I mean, the sound isn't too different. If you can get past that, then you're good to go, but it's still not the best clone out there, so you might be better off, with an NES and just a Famicom converter or adapter. Well, I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions about this clone at all, feel free to let me know. This has been DGN, and I am signing off. Thank you, bye bye.